Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Monster-Mania radio podcast. I'm Rob Dimension, joined by the living legend,
Oh
Dave
boy.
Hagen, the
Isn't
man
that Bruno
behind.
Sammartino?
Yes, it was, as a matter of fact. You are the man that has brought us all one step closer to you know,
Heaven.
meeting
Heaven.
to, well, I didn't want to say that, but yes. So what's going on, Dave?
Oh, dude. What a crazy, and I do mean crazy, what a crazy few weeks it has been. Um, Sadly, I get a text from someone that shows me a screenshot of Farpoint Convention, their Facebook post saying that the Hunt Valley, Delta Marriott Hunt Valley Hotel that we do our Maryland show in, that it's closing on, ironically enough, Halloween, October 31st this year. And I'm like, I didn't know anything about it. I truly did not know anything about it. So, after just about having a heart attack, your first thought is, this isn't real. Like there's got to be, it's got to be a mistake. Maybe it's their last show there, but but they say in it, that the hotel was closing. So I sent an email off. This was like 10:30 at night. I get this text. I sent an email off to the director of sales at the hotel, who I've known, for years now. We've been there 13 years. So I sent an email saying, hey, I just saw this. Is this true? So 7:00 the next morning, 7:30 the next morning, I get an email back saying, yeah, I'm going down my list of people to call. You're on my list for today. Give me a call when you get a chance. And I'm like, Jesus God.
That's crazy.
And this is, we're weeks out from our upcoming Hunt Valley show, October 13th to
31st
15th
is
show.
not that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after, so I sent the text to the boys immediately. And, after I was kind of like shell shocked, it's like, getting the rug pulled out from under you. So after I started thinking about it, it's like, well, I'm thankful that they're not closing before our convention, and then speaking with, the hotel people, I've gotten a couple emails from, the convention manager, and the sales manager and stuff. And people were saying that they're glad that we're the last big convention that's going to be taking place there. So, I mean, it's for me, it's heartbreaking. Like I have a long, long history with that hotel. And when you do this for as long as we do, we've been doing Cherry Hill for 20 years, Hunt Valley for 13. You build relationships with people.
Absolutely.
And it's, even though everybody's technically working, I mean, like you're in the trenches with, the hotel people, the guy that does the tables, I know him by sight. When he comes in, he asks me how I'm doing, we get talking, all these people, are going to be out of a job soon. And I've been in that situation in my life. I know how scary that can be. It's like, geez,
and I do think that don't you think that hotels, when they're going to shut down, there's not much notice. That seems to be like the way that things are handled, don't you think?
I honestly don't know. I don't have,
because this changed hands a few times.
Oh, it's changed hands a few times. There was a time when they talked about there was like a public auction posted, date and time and everything, where they were going to auction off the everything in the building, literally everything in the building. So, I panicked when that happened. That was, I think, boy, I'm going to say 2017, 2016, maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Yeah. But then, that didn't happen. So when I first got this text message, and, I thought, probably, they call it flags, changing flags, like when, like our Cherry Hill Hotel went from, it was a Hilton when we first started there, then it became a Crown Plaza, then it was its own independent thing for like just a month or two while they were converting over to a DoubleTree Hilton. That's called changing flags in the hotel business. So, you know, when I talked to the salesperson, I said, is this a situation where we're just changing flags at the hotel, or is it something different? And sadly, it's something different. I've heard stories that it's going to be demolished completely. And I've heard everything from it's going to be a Tesla dealership to it's going to be an apartment building and shopping stores. And I've heard combination that it's going to be, part of it's going to be a Tesla dealership and another part of it's going to be like apartment building or whatever. So, you know, the sad part of it is whatever is going to happen, the building's going to get demolished. So, you know, now I think back, I mean, I've been going to that hotel. There was a convention that used to be, was called FanX. It's not the FanX company that's out there now. It was a different company, and it was run by Gary and Sue Zvela. They used to do Midnight Marquee books, basically Hammer horror oriented, which is why I used to go to these conventions. And they'd have like all these different Hammer stars. You know, they did their conventions there. Then they moved on to Washington for a year or two, had this big convention with Christopher Lee, and then came back to the hotel. So, and then, you know, for Horror Find, which took over doing horror conventions there after FanX left, I was a vendor. Like, there's the spot by the doors downstairs in the hallway that was our spot. You know, every time I go to that hotel, I look at that spot and like, that was my vendor tables. You know, it's like, I'm a sentimental guy, Rob. You know, like those walls mean a lot to me. I was there as a fan, and they brought me great joy. I was there as a vendor, and you know, we were just starting our vendor business, and you know, the boys came down, you know, and helped me do it. I mean, you know, there's a lot of memories for me there. And then, you know, so I was a fan, I was a vendor, and then I became a promoter. And honestly, for me, going into that building, it's kind of like going into the old original Yankee Stadium or, you know, the Red Sox Stadium. I mean, you know, for me, I was going into a building that had a great horror convention history, you know, dating back. FanX, I think, started in like the 80s, you know, and all the way through. I mean, the 80s now are what, 45 years ago, 43 years ago, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I felt like I was carrying the torch, you know, for horror conventions in that hotel. And, you know, there's a lot of people, you know, met their significant others there. A lot of people brought their children there. A lot of people brought their parents there. You know, there's a lot of, you know, the horror convention community. I mean, you know, it starts like in my case, you know, I do it with my family, my kids and their kids now. But I do it in honor of my dad. And there was a lot of people that, you know, took their parents, you know, that introduced them to horror films, take them to these conventions. And, you know, those walls mean a lot to me. You know, I really felt like I was carrying the baton, you know, of horror conventions there. So, and Baltimore's got, you know, a rich history of, you know, related to horror. You know, they had the Midnight Marquee FanX shows. You know, you got Edgar Allan Poe. You've got the I forget what it's called. The guy that goes to Poe's grave every year on his birthday and leaves the roses and the cognac. You know, like you got the Poe House, the Poe Museum. You know, there's a rich tradition of horror in you know, the Baltimore area, and I felt honored to be carrying that forward. You know, and it was heartbreaking to see that news. And once I shared it online, you know, a lot of people were saying the same thing.
Yeah, don't forget, guys, this is for Monster Mania Con 56. It's October 13th through the 15th. Come join us. Let's help celebrate and send off the Delta Hotel Marriott in the right direction. And let's make some memories. There are plenty of guests. Tickets are still available, but do not wait to get your tickets because they do sell out. I can share my experiences for the hotel. I believe that the hotel really was my favorite to do anything at. Um,
You
really,
have to love the escalators.
I mean, of course, of course. I mean, I can remember when you had the the vendors upstairs and the Q&As. Were they downstairs? They were downstairs
Yes,
at one
yes.
point. Yeah.
They were in the hunt room where we have the vendors at now.
Yeah.
We switch things around.
That was where I hosted my first panel, and it was a Robert Englund panel, but it was for a movie I think called Invictus or something like
Oh,
that. I can't remember the movie that he was promoting. Um, but you were like, "Hey, do you want to do a panel?" I was like, "Sure." And you were like, "Well, it's this one." And I was blown away because it was Robert Englund. And then, you being kind enough to let me host, the big Halloween Q&A and the John
I knew you
Carpenter
would love
Q&A.
that. You
Yeah.
know,
I
being
mean,
the Halloween fan that we both are.
to be honest, there was, I mean, I have memories at both. Um, but I really will miss the Baltimore atmosphere. And I thought that the Q&A room, once we moved it upstairs, I really, really just, I loved it. I loved how it was big and the space, and we've jam packed them in there,
Yeah.
but yeah, I really will miss it, to be honest. You've provided uh such a a great environment for people that are, lifelong horror fans, to be able to go and get an experience with the person that they idolize or that they look up to, as far as like my favorite actor or favorite actress. And I just think that it is a shame. So here's my question. Moving forward, do you have plans to relocate?
Well, I can tell you, as soon as I got that email from the hotel saying that they were indeed closing for good, I mean, immediately I started looking for another place. You know me.
Mhm.
So, um, we've identified a place that we would like to go to. Um, Contracts are probably, by the time this gets posted, hopefully, contracts will be signed and I'll be able to share, more information about it. If it turns out the way that I hope that will, we've looked at a lot of different places. And the problem is, and a lot of people were very kind and suggested, places to go. But I don't think a lot of people realize the scope of what we need to do a convention. I mean, yeah, we could go to some of the places that were suggested, but it would be a severe downsizing
Mhm.
of what we're doing. And,
And that
we don't want
convention
to.
just continued to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
When
I
we
mean,
first
we were.
started, it was such a small amount of people that came, to the point now where I mean, you're turning people away.
So,
It's crazy.
so it's important to us. Plus, we were going to two shows a year. This was the first year
Mhm.
we did two shows. We did a show in April and
Mhm.
we did a show in October. And
Mhm.
the April show was the biggest sales we've ever had, biggest attendance we've ever had.
Yeah, it's
So, like, we
crazy.
were wondering, like, is a spring show going to work here? And the answer was yeah. It's the fans have supported us in that building for so long. and it's just grown and grown and grown. And, I just feel an obligation to try to, continue the tradition, and, we'll find the right place. And if it's not the place that, that I'm hoping for, it'll be somewhere else. But, we're going to find the right place, and, you know, we'll change walls, but we'll still be what we are.
Yeah.
And, and I'd like to keep, as much tradition from what we've had, at this hotel going forward. Maybe the next hotel will have escalators. Like I always enjoyed that. I don't know why, but it's just thought it was cool, like having a hotel that you were going up escalators. So but we've got a place picked out that we're hoping comes through. I'm checking my phone like as before we got into starting to record this, looking for an email that with the final contract. So hopefully by our next podcast we'll be announcing where we're going and the dates and everything like that. So fingers crossed. But in the meantime, I really, really want to thank everybody that have patronized us in that building for 13 years now. And it's going to be very tough leaving there for the last time for me. I really appreciate what that building has given to me. I appreciate what the hotel employees have given me. I appreciate what the fans that come to that building have given me, the stars.
Yeah, man, I'll miss it. And don't forget, guys, this is October 13th through the 15th. It's going to be in Hunt Valley. It's the last show at the Delta Hotel Marriott. So you got to come out. You got to see some guests, which we're going to get to in 1 minute. And you got to send off this hotel with a big bang. Let them know Monster-Mania Con 56 was there. Let them know. All right, Dave. So let's talk about some of the guests that you have for this convention. I know you just added a real big name.
Yeah, we just added Elijah Wood, which I'm super happy about. Big fan of all his films. He's such a diverse actor, and if you look down the list of films and projects that he's worked on, it's very varied and historic films, classic films.
I like him in Yellow Jackets. That's a really, really good show. And I liked him in Wilford. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and I like The Good Son.
Oh, yeah.
And Faculty, of course. Faculty is like one of my guilty pleasures.
How can you take out like Maniac or The Lord of the Rings or it just seems like he really does have an endless list of films. And like I said, I was telling you before we got on, I just watched him in a movie on Netflix called I Don't Think I Want to Live Here Anymore or something along those lines. Very, very good. Very good. Different, I'm super pumped. I think Elijah Wood is a great guest.
Yeah, and he's super fan friendly, which is really important. I wanted to close out this hotel with a bang, so adding him certainly did that. But I also wanted to close out the hotel with very fan friendly guests. And I haven't met him yet, but I hear nothing but fantastic things about his fan interaction, which is really important to me.
And then you also have Thomas Jane coming in.
Yeah.
And this is his first Monster-Mania Con appearance,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Who can forget this guy in The Mist?
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's so good. But he's been in a lot of stuff as well. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah. The Punisher's phenomenal.
Yeah. And he was in Deep Blue Sea. That's actually one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. But I think he will be a great first-time guest, and I think that people will come out. I hope to see some Mist posters there. And then I know you've got the Frog Brothers reunion.
Yeah.
Corey Feldman and Jameson Newlander. So it's been a bit since we've had Jameson Newlander there, isn't that right? Or was he here
Yeah, no,
recently?
it has been a while.
Yeah,
So I thought like we just had the other Lost Boys up at the Cherry Hill convention
right,
that neither Jameson or Corey were at. So, it
right.
just made sense that since they were both available to bring them down to Hunt Valley. And then Corey, of course, was in Friday the 13th, part four. And it's a
Hmm.
the show is Friday the 13th. So, we've got a bit of a part four reunion, with the Moore twins and Corey, forget
Yeah, and then I saw that you're bringing back
Lawrence Modison from part four.
Alyssa Sutherland.
Yeah,
Alyssa Sutherland. Had to think about that one for a minute. Who really had rose to I guess fame from the Evil Dead Rise movie.
yeah.
So
And then
which she killed. And I saw photos of her from Cherry Hill. I mean, she looks like she loves meeting fans.
she's fantastic. And then making her first convention ever appearance is Sosie Bacon
Mm-hmm.
from. Did you see Smile yet?
I did. I
Yeah,
did. I really liked it actually.
yeah.
It was much better. I saw people comparing it follows.
Oh, yep. I
And
saw that too.
yeah, and this I thought was better.
Yeah, I like them both, but I really liked her role in that.
Hmm.
And so it's
Very
her first
good.
convention, so it's always great to get somebody who's been a first timer. So we're looking forward to having her there, and of course, if her father wants to stop by and visit her, that wouldn't be bad either.
And then you've got Kerr Smith coming in, which is another first time Monster-Mania Con appearance. People always say, Dave, that it's the same old guests. And here we are. We've gone over 5 names, and 2 of them are different that you've
Yeah,
never had,
yeah,
right? It's crazy.
yeah.
So,
Plus, I
this is
mean, this is our 56th show. Try
right.
doing 56 shows in the horror convention field. Plus,
Yeah.
what people I don't think people realize, I treat each location
Hmm.
as its own
Hmm.
thing, because
Yes.
the reality of it is when we sell tickets to these locations, the majority of the tickets sold for Hunt Valley are in the Baltimore, Maryland
Hmm.
area. The majority of the tickets sold for Cherry Hill are in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area.
Hmm.
The majority of the tickets for Oaks is kind of draws from Pennsylvania, some Jersey,
New
some
York.
Delaware, so I
Yeah.
treat each venue as its own entity. So if I have somebody in Cherry Hill, every time I announce a guest, wherever it's for, people from one of the other locations say, bring them to whatever
Uh-huh.
location they're near.
Hmm.
So, I mean, that's what we do,
And
and
I think
I,
that a lot of times people have to understand that just because they've seen Robert Englund, for instance, doesn't mean that, Joe horror fan in Baltimore just found out about the convention and loves Robert Englund. It's not, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you're able to keep uh there's constantly an influx of new horror fans that come in that discover Monster Mania and realize how great it is and take the opportunity to go to the convention, meet the stars, and they're not worried about who was there last time. They're worried about who was there for their first time.
yeah. And I'll announce a guest, and somebody will say, "Oh, can you bring them back in August? I can't make the March show." It's that happens all the time. So I treat each venue as its own entity, and I book the stars for the venues with that in mind.
You have Greg Nicotero coming in,
Yeah,
which I think is a great guest. He is always working on something new, it seems, and he has lots of information about movies that we all love that he's worked on.
yeah. Super fan friendly. And he brings like some of the props from the films and the Walking
Mhm.
Dead. So he's always great to have around.
And one of my favorite guys, Derek Mears, is coming in. He was best known as Jason from Friday the 13th, the 2009, the remake. He was in Swamp Thing. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people love him from Predators. But I mean, that Swamp Thing TV series, I was dying for a second season.
Yeah,
I loved it.
it's a shame. I think the politics of you know budgets and I think like the ownership or something was changing over. Like there was absolutely no reason why that
It
series
was
should have been canceled.
from what I understand, I heard it was like something with politics here in North Carolina because that was filmed in the studios in Wilmington.
Uh,
So it was like they were promised money and I don't know. Like funding for these things change all the time, trust me. I work with the state and funding's always different. But Derek Mears, super fan friendly, way bigger than you would think he is. He's a big dude and super kind, super nice.
yeah, really nice
So
guy, and
yeah.
does stand up comedy.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, yeah, he does a lot
Okay.
of improv.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
Speaking of Friday the 13th, you have somewhat of a reunion. We've gone over the Frog Brothers, Derek Mears, but then you have Kimberly Beck. You have the twins from Friday the 13th, the final chapter. You have CJ Graham is going to be there. Warrington Gillette's going to be there. Ken Kersinger is going to be there. And CJ Graham, what a great guy.
yeah,
Great. And he's again super fan friendly. And guys, look, here's the deal. No one's getting any younger. So get to these conventions while you can, and while some of our favorite actors or actresses are there, you know, to just be able to, I mean, to me, this was a dream, to be completely honest. When I was 16 or 17 and I was watching, you know, bootleg horror, or I was watching horror that shouldn't be rented, uh to be able to get to know these people, Dave, it really made an impact on my life. Like not just from a fan standpoint, like it really impacted my life. And I appreciate that. I thank you for that because I never would have thought that I would have just been talking twice now, one-on-one with John Carpenter. I never thought of
yeah,
it. You know, it never thought of it. Never thought that you could ask somebody questions about something that you saw in the film and you could get a response. It was just, it's really great, you know. Yeah, so that is again, that is going to be October 13th through the 15th. It's our last hurrah at the
mm,
Delta Hotel Marriott. They're going to be closing shortly after the convention, and if you've ever been there, it's a really great spot for a convention. You know, just accessible, and like I said, parking. You know, you're going to have a great time, and I can't encourage people enough to come out. This is number 56, Monster-Mania Con 56, Dave.
yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
13 years down there. You know,
Yeah.
it's sad to see it come to an end, but I want to send it out in style. Like
Mhm.
I've seen different people suggesting we do a toast here and toast there. You know, I really want this show to be, you know, as good as it can be, and I want to give everybody that's ever come to this hotel and had a good time, I want to give them a last chance to come here and enjoy it because it's the end of an era at this location,
And the
and
amount of conversations that were had in just the Q&A rooms by themselves. We've had Bruce Campbell there. He was there a couple years ago.
yeah,
You know, we've had John Carpenter there. We've had so many
George
guests.
Romero.
George Romero. I remember True Blood. Those people came in. I remember Elvira. I just had a Q&A with Elvira a couple years ago. That was awesome. There's so many good.
Memories.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man, you know. It's crazy. He's always quick to say like, "Oh, you're outgrowing the hotel," but then when you're kind of forced out and you don't have an opportunity, you don't have a say. Those same people that said it's growing too big don't want you to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, a catch-22.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you remember the Night Gallery episode. They were tearing down O'Reilly's bar. You remember that with William Wyndham?
No.
It won an award, I think, as the best written episode of Night Gallery. It's about a guy who lost, his wife had passed, and he's getting old in years and gets fired from his job. And this bar is like his sacred place. It's the place he goes to, and when he walks into it after all these bad things happening to him, he steps back in time, and the bar is full of people from whatever time era that he first met his wife in, and all that stuff. So but they're demolishing the bar. And if you watch that episode after you watch this podcast, if you're a fan watching this, it'll remind you of the situation we're in now. It's buildings hold memories, walls hold memories.
And when you get older, you may be young now, but when you get older, the memories mean a lot.
Yeah.
Take it from myself and Dave,
who can't remember anything.
Really, right? I'm sitting here trying to scramble my brain to remember, but I remember some really specific times and memories, and it's really, really it's gonna be missed.
Yeah. So we're gonna give it one last set of memories.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Monster Mania Radio Podcast. Again, my name is Rob Dimension. You can check out my site at coachdimension.com for the complete wrestling philosophy. It is ideas and philosophies and tricks.
Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach. I'm the living legend.
Yeah, you are the living legend.
I can do the backbreaker like Bruno did.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Except it's my own back that's breaking.
That pretty much sums it up. And Dave, make sure that you have a great time. And for people that don't know, go to monstermania.net. And there's 2 different conventions that are listed right now. 56 with Hunt Valley, Maryland. Then 57 is going to be in Oaks, and that's in November 10th through the 12th. So if you can't make one, make the other. It's going to be another great convention.
And once again, really hope to see everybody down in Hunt Valley. I want to give the hotel the send off it deserves.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, take care. All right, and be safe, and enjoy Monster Mania.
Thank you, guys.